Today's episode, I would say, is a little personal. Well, everything on here is personal, duh. But personal in the sense of I'll be talking about well, let me just say this. Okay, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this episode. Okay, for some reason, people tend to come up to women and are like, when are you gonna have another baby? When are you gonna expand your family? When are you gonna give, your child another sibling? And after this episode, I'm hoping that people will stop doing that to women. Okay, I had my daughter in 2012. Best thing that's ever happened to me, honestly. Even though she wears me out, even though I get tired, she's still the best little thing that's ever happened in my life. But this episode is just, like I said, my whole podcast is about me releasing and talking and opening up about things I wouldn't normally talk about. And so I'm going to talk about this. After I had my daughter, I would say I went through postpartum depression. I was not myself. I loved my baby, but it was something else that was going on with me. I was just in a very dark space. I was very emotional. I was very snappy, I just wasn't myself. Like, postpartum depression is a very real thing, and any new mom who is dealing with that or who feels they may be dealing with that, like, it's okay to go and get help for it. It's okay to open up and tell others. It does not make you a bad person or a bad mom. It just happens to some of us. And it took me a while to kind of get over that. Like, the whole ordeal after having my daughter, it was a traumatic experience for me. Before I had her, the day that I had her, I was at home and she hadn't been moving for a while. And it just wasn't right to me because she was a very, very active baby, always bouncing around, jumping, punching me all in my ribs and everything. And that particular morning, she just wasn't moving. And so I contacted my doctor and she was like, okay, well, you need to come in. And so we went in and they checked me in and all this good stuff and got me hooked up to all kinds of things. And I guess these nurses thought they were whispering or whatever, but I heard over my head that my baby's heart rate had dropped. And that's not something you want to hear when, you're a first time mom, you're in there, you're already upset because your baby hasn't really been moving like she's supposed to. And then to hear them say her heart rate is dropping, and then to say it right by you when they could have said it elsewhere. Needless to say, after that, I had to have an emergency C-section, but thank God she was born. She was happy. She was healthy. Okay. But the first, I want to say few weeks, first few months, it was rough. Getting up every hour, on the hour almost, trying to see about her, running on little to no sleep. While my husband, bless his heart, I love him, but around that time I could not stand him because he wasn't helping as much as he should have. He's laying there sleeping while I'm trying to see about a baby and I'm sleep deprived. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I want to say a couple months down the line, I was like, you know what? I don't think I can go through this again. I don't think I can do it again. Like, it was bad enough the traumatic experience of having to have an emergency C-section to try and make sure my baby got here okay. Like, that was a lot, and I didn't want to run the risk of having to deal with something like that again, or maybe next time something worse happening. So I had already decided, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't go through and have another baby again. So my husband and I had talked about it, and we had decided that he was going to take the necessary steps to make sure we couldn't have another baby. And we had decided that, and for some reason that changed because he had discussions with other people and they kind of swayed him out of that decision. So afterwards I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the doctor. Since you won't do it, I'm gonna do it, because I can't go through this again. Like, I'm literally paranoid and freaking out, thinking that, you know, if I get pregnant again, something bad is gonna happen. So I went to the doctor and I basically was telling him, like, I want to get my tubes tied. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, excuse me, sir? Like, how you gonna tell me what you not gonna do? Like, I'm paying you. If I'm coming in here telling you I want to get my tubes tied, then you're gonna tie my tubes, and that's just it. But he was like, I hear what you're saying, but you're young, and I'm not gonna do it because you feel this way now. Later on down the line, you're gonna change your mind. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, I'm in my late 20s. I'm like, I'm not going to change my mind. Once I put my mind on something, I know how I feel. And if I say I'm not going to want any more kids, I'm not going to want any more kids. I know what I'm talking about. So you're not going to do it? And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just find a doctor that'll do it. So me with my head strong, thinking I know everything, I'm going to get this done, you know, with or without your help. I found another doctor. And I regret to this day going to that doctor, because going to this woman basically has, well, anyway, I found another doctor. And when I went in, I went to the appointment with my mom and the baby. And when I went in there, like, really from jump, her whole attitude and everything was just kind of off to me. It was just kind of like, she was kind of looking at my mom almost like why is she even in here? Like, if you're here for you, and if you're grown, like, why is she sitting in here? Which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I went in and I told her that, you know, I wanted to get my tubes tied. And she was like, well, why would you want to get your tubes tied? Because anything could happen. Like, you could still get pregnant even though your tubes are tied. They can come undone, and all these other things. Like, basically putting fear in me, even though I came in there. I had my mind made up. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that because I felt that was the safest thing. That was the best thing. And I had done my research, and that's what I wanted to do. But she was like, oh no, well, they could come undone and you can still get pregnant. And I was like, okay, now you're freaking me out. And she was like, well, have you heard about essure? And I was like, essure, what's that? And she was like, it's a permanent form of birth control if you're absolutely sure you don't want to have any more children. We take metal coils and insert them into your tubes, and it blocks that part of your body off so you can no longer get pregnant. And so I was like, okay, I hadn't heard about it before, but she just kept asking me, like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because once you do this, like, there's no reversing it. Like, once it's done, it's done. So my mom was looking at me and she was like, are you sure you want to do this? And the doctor's looking at her like, well, mom, she's grown, you know, she can decide on if she wants to do this, yada, yada, yada. And I sat there, and like, in the moment, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Of course I want to do it. So, scheduled the appointment. The day of the appointment comes, I go in there. They give me a pill to knock me out, so I'm not, you know, alert when everything is going on. It's supposed to be a 45-minute procedure. I was in there about an hour and a half. I'm gonna get through this episode. Halfway through the procedure, I remember waking up and I could see everything that was going on. And I could see her. She was trying to insert the other coil. For whatever reason, she couldn't do it. So she had to call another doctor. And the other doctor that she called in to do it was the first doctor who told me that he wouldn't perform the tubal ligation on me. So even though I'm groggy and I'm on this medicine, I see him walk in, and it was like he had like the most disappointing look on his face, because he was kind of looking like, you know, I said I didn't want to do it. I can't believe she still went on and did it. So he walked in, and I could see him. He put the other coil in. He was able to do it, just right away, even though she couldn't do it. And after that was done, I went to the recovery for a few minutes, went home, and that was the end of that. And, looking back on it now, the first doctor was right. I've had like so many regrets since getting that done. Like in that moment in my 20s, yes, I was going through a lot. Yes, I was a new mom. I was tired. I was worn out. I was stressed. I was upset over the traumatic birthing experience that I had. But I think about it now, and it's like as I got older, and even as my husband and I were in a better place in everything, I would have loved to have had another baby. But the reality is I cannot. Like, I can never bring another child into the world. Like, the worst feeling ever is when I get phantom kicks, and phantom kicks are basically like spasms or whatever in your stomach where it feels like a kick or something, but nothing is there. You never heard of it, Google it, like it's a real thing. And that's the worst feeling ever when I have those, and I know that I'll never, ever in life experience a baby doing that again. So, like, when people come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, when are you gonna give your baby another oh, she would be an awesome big sister. Oh, you guys should expand your family. Like, and I don't mean this to be rude, but I really wish people would stop. Like, don't even, like, I don't mean just stop saying it to me, but just stop saying it to women in general. Don't go up to a woman and be like, hey, well, when are you going to have a baby? Or when are you going to have another baby? When are you going to do this? You don't know what that woman is dealing with. You don't know what that woman has dealt with. Maybe she can't have children. Maybe she's in a position where she would love to, but she is unable to have a child. You may mean no harm, but the thing that you say could be the thing to send that woman into such a dark space. It could take her forever to come out of it. And I have heard this so much in the past few years after I had my daughter, since she's gotten a little older. And I know people don't mean any harm, but that just sends me into a tailspin, and it takes me a couple days to get out of it, because that just brings me back to I can never have another child. They're asking me when I'm going to expand, and I just stand there and I'm like, oh no, we're good. No, we're done. Yeah, we're done literally, because I cannot have anymore. That's why we're not expanding our family. I'm unable to do so. So this is basically just really a PSA to people. Stop asking women when they're going to have a baby or when they're going to expand their family. It could be many reasons why they haven't done so. And you may not mean any harm, but it's damaging. And really, it's none of your business, if we're being quite honest here. Maybe people don't want to expand. Maybe they're unable to, but whatever the situation is, don't go around asking people that, because when you do that, you're opening yourself up to get put in your place, honestly. And I'm hoping and praying that no one asks me that in the future, because I really don't feel I need to open them and be like, well, I can't have kids. That's why we don't have, but okay, I'm going on a tangent. I want to bring it back. But honestly, stop asking women when they're going to expand their families, because 9 times out of 10, maybe they can't. So let's just wipe that question out of our minds, out of our memory banks, out of our mouths, and just let's start minding our own wounds. Let's do that. Don't worry about other people and their families or their situations. If you see a nice looking little family, just pay a compliment. Be like, oh, you guys really have a nice family, and keep it moving. Don't overstep your bounds unless you want to get your feelings handed to you. And that's just what it is. And another thing that I want to say before I end this, if you're a new mom and you're having a rough time with, coping with all the changes that have taken place, before you make a permanent decision based on temporary emotions, if you feel at this point in time you don't want to ever have another child, don't go and do what I did. Don't go and get something permanent done and then you live with the regret for the rest of your life. There are other things you can do. Don't be persuaded by doctors who are only looking at the money that they're going to get from performing a procedure. They're not worried about the effects it'll have on you, because it doesn't matter once you leave out that room. Just, unless it's something you're 1,000,000% sure about, don't go out there and do it, because you don't want to live with the regret that I've been living with the past 6 years. You don't want it. It's rough. But yeah, that's whew, this one was a struggle. I did not think this episode was gonna be this heavy, and it's crazy that all this time it still affects me the way that it does. But I felt I need to talk about it. You know, it's all about personal journey. It's all about healing. It's all about getting things out there and talking about it. Because I mean, my pain, it's giving me a purpose, and whatever I've dealt with, maybe it can help somebody else. But that's pretty much it for this episode, and I thank you guys for tuning in, and catch you on the next one. Peace.